important to recognize that what works and doesn't work in each of your sites is something that you're going to have to try and learn as you go. And so improv is a fun way of moving forward, but you got to have the culture too that people are going to get into the improv, and you may or may not have that in your institution either. So it is important to recognize that. So what's going to happen here is Keith is going to set the scene. The players are going to come on. The improv is going to unfold. You're going to be making observations about what's happening, thinking about what was safe, what was not safe, and be ready to have a bit of a conversation at your tables after the improv.
So we've decided to focus on something that happens all the time if you're doing this kind of work. So it's very familiar to the players. And it's the line that will be delivered somewhere in this improv is, "I've come to tell you." You can finish that sentence. "I've come to tell you some hard news about you've acquired, or we have given you," or what words will be used are not determined. There's no script whatsoever for this. Only that this line will be delivered during this very short improv. We have 4 players, and they're named on their, with a little tag. There's a patient, a family member, a doctor, and a nurse. The patient was admitted 2 days ago with some kind of a cancer diagnosis and was swabbed at admission. And the location is a patient room in a hospital.
Surgery's going to be fine. Surgery's absolutely fine. We're set to go for tomorrow at 2 o'clock as scheduled. Does the OR know?
So that may be pretty real. So what we're inviting all of you to do, and we'll do the same thing up here, is at your table, the best thing would be to try to replay the scene, the essential conversation between the provider and the patient. What would you say? Take the roles. Now, you may not want to do that because it's a little bit uncomfortable. But in fact, what we've found with this work is it is a little uncomfortable. But if it produces a result, you will end up doing it. You will be okay with being a little bit embarrassed if it produces an important, safer behavior. So in a little group, I recommend 4 or 5 people. You can either critique what they did, what was safe, what was unsafe. How would you take this to some other place? You can do that. One of the things about facilitating this, you want to do it locally with people from the units who have similar roles and responsibilities or functions. So they're deciding together, well, was the mask too much? And like this observation, can you come in, ideas that are generated among other physicians, let's say physicians could get together, it's conceivable, and talk about, well, how do we break the news? And what do we wear? And what are some of the opening lines that make sense? And what's the first thing you might say to a loved one? And what do you do with a nurse? So the initial response and critique of what happened, it's a good idea to do it as close to the work and where it's being done as possible. And the people that have similar roles and responsibilities, they're both noticing what they're currently doing and going, okay, that's not safe. That reminds me of something that we do that's not safe. Reminds them, ooh, we do that, that's good. And then they start to invent lovely ideas that are possible that they might try. They might, a quick way to try it.
So, as a physician, in a place of not having enough knowledge or assuming that things had taken place, right, there would be a lot of critique about how the physician handled themselves, right? And so I'm wondering in your groups when you have run PD, if they look at what, what's the block there? Like what, as opposed to just targeting and being critical of the physician you should know better.
We're facilitating this makes a difference. So we're inviting, what did you notice that was safe? What was unsafe? There was no pre-planning for it. So it's an environment in which everybody's exploring what can work better.